Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Just finished up rewatching this Florida Gators team on the road against Kentucky. Wanted to hop on and give you guys some of my takeaways and thoughts from that performance. And let's just start with this. And sometimes you got to boil this sport down to kind of just the simple things. Florida came out flat. They were out coached. They looked sloppy, had sloppy penalties. Kentucky ran the ball all over them. Those are recipes to losing games on the road. Billy Napier now 1-7 on the road away from the swamp. I mean, some of this stuff, it's straight up inexcusable. Now, heading into the year, we talked about, yes, I was more optimistic than most about this team. I still am to a certain extent, but we said there are going to be some growing pains, right? This is a team that is extremely young on both sides of the football. You have a transfer quarterback in there. That being said, I can understand some of these mistakes, but to come out as sloppy and just as ill prepared and not ready to play like Florida did, at a certain point, you got to call it as you see it. And this was just one of the more embarrassing games for Billy Napier and this coaching staff. Excited to get into this one. Now, before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys, and especially the Florida Gator fans. Y'all know how much I have loved talking about this program and where it's going, largely because of the support from you guys. I learned a ton from you guys in the comment section. So if you do enjoy the content, one, consider subscribing to the channel. That's the best way to support the boys. But second, I would love to hear from you guys in the comment section. I'm sure there are a lot of frustrated Florida fans as a college football fan that are, quite frankly, kind of rooting for this Florida team. I'm frustrated as well. So would love to hear from you guys. Let's chop it up there. Without further ado, let's get into it. And I want to start on the offensive side of the ball and a couple things that kind of need to change. And I think the first thing you have to talk about is Billy Napier calling the plays. And my take on this is, one, Billy Napier, I truly think he can be a quality head coach. That being said, I don't get that much value from him calling the plays. I don't think this offense is anything special from a play calling, from a schematic standpoint. And two, even if he was great, you're seeing some of the time that where Billy Napier is so focused on calling the plays, I feel like the play as the aggregate from the whole team kind of falters from that. You look across the country, not many head coaches are doing play calling duties. You look at Kirby Smart at Georgia, he's probably the best defensive mind you see in the country. He's not calling the plays for Georgia. I mean, unless you're like Lincoln Riley, just an exceptional play caller, I can see it. But for Billy Napier, I don't see the added value that he gives to this Florida team calling the plays. I think he'd be much better fit just being that CEO, recruiting his tail off on the trail and getting this team ready to play as an aggregate, as opposed to focusing so much on the offensive play calling that, quite frankly, has not been very good since he's been there. Now, I want to dig into what we actually saw on the field from the offense, and I want to start with the quarterback play, and I'm still going to do it. And I would love to hear from you guys in terms of the quarterback play. I don't think Graham Mertz is the problem. Yeah, he missed a few throws. That pick to Arliss over the middle to start the game, my take on that, and I promise you I'm not trying to just relentlessly defend Graham Mertz. He missed some plays. He was not great last Saturday. But if it hits a big body over the middle of the field, like if you are a big body tight end and it's hitting you with two hands, you got to come down with that. And at the very least, you're not tipping the ball up in the air so it can get picked off like it did. I get the throw was high. It was hot. That being said, if you're a big body, work in the middle of the field, you got to be able to come up with those. But outside of that, like Graham Mertz threw some really good balls. You look at the numbers, 25 of 30 for 250, 2 touchdowns. Obviously, that one interception. Do I think he's holding the football a little bit? Yeah, I think that's probably a fair criticism. But all in all, you look at Graham Mertz and his performance, he's doing exactly what Florida is asking him to do. And I think he's making some plays. I don't really think Florida struggles on the offensive side of the ball have been due to Graham Mertz not playing well. The biggest things that I'm seeing that really concern me about Florida is, first, they got to be better on first down. This is a team that wants to run the football. They want to be a balanced offense, and they continue to rack up penalties on early downs, not really being efficient on first and second down. And I mean, most of these drives, you're seeing Florida third and long consistently, and that is just not where this Florida Gators team is built to be successful. Right? They don't have a loaded playman. They got some guys up there, but I wouldn't say they're extremely deep at the wide receiver position. That's not the type of offense that Florida has built. And when you consistently lose on first and second down, allow Kentucky or whoever team you're playing to kind of get those blitz packages in. I mean, that's where Florida's really struggling, is losing on first and second down, not really staying ahead of schedule. And because of that, I mean, this offense is really, really struggling to maintain these drives. The number 3 is pass protection. It's just, the run game hasn't been great either. This offensive line in general, you go back and watch, like, it hasn't been great. I think this team is much better run blocking than they are in pass pro. And going back to losing on first and second down, when this team is in third and long in Kentucky or whoever team you're playing is kind of scheming up some blitzes, like, this offensive line can't give Graham Mertz time. And I get Graham Mertz probably holding onto the ball a little bit, but I mean, he is not having that many clean pockets to throw from. The pass protection for this Florida offense has been abysmal. It's been, I mean, 9%. Graham Mertz is getting sacked on 9% of his dropbacks. That's outside of the top 100 for a team that Billy Napier wants to pride himself on being strong in the trenches. And this offensive line just is not getting it done. It really either run blocking or in pass pro up to the standard that Florida needs to. And the last one I want to talk about is finding your playmakers, specifically in space. I mean, you do have some guys who are dynamic with the football. I know guys like Wilson have been banged up. I feel like this offense lacks a little creativity. Like, there's never a time where I'm like, oh yeah, they just really schemed that guy up and he's open and has some room to be a playmaker. I feel like Florida, this offense is not really keeping defenses on their toes at all. And I know Florida's leading the country in pre-snap motion. I don't think they're using that motion to get anybody in space. I mean, when's the last time you had a couple good deep shots to Ricky Pearsall? Graham Mertz threw some good balls, but outside of that, I don't see this offense. And this kind of goes back to my thoughts on Billy Napier as a play caller. I don't really see this offense really scheming their playmakers open. And that's the biggest problem offenses have, is just not getting the ball to your playmakers, especially at the college level. It can be a simple game. You got guys, get the ball to them, let them go be better than the defense. I don't think Florida is really doing that. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, by far the worst performance we've seen from Austin Armstrong and this defense. Now, I'm not going to get up here and rag on them, because I think through the first 4 games, this Florida defense has been different. It's been extremely good. This was a really bad performance, and it starts with the basics, right? Again, going back to my idea, like, you got to simplify the sport, and the tackling was just next level bad. And this defense, I don't use this word lightly, it seemed like it was soft on Saturday, right? And that's not something we have not used. We've used that word in the past to describe Florida's defense. We haven't used it this year. Like, this defense, for the first 4 games, flying around the field, making tackles in space. On Saturday, I mean, that was, I don't know if I want to use the word embarrassment, but you saw guys, especially at the second level in the secondary, have no interest in being physical and bringing the ball carrier down. I think from the linebacker standpoint, I'm not going to call them soft. I think they've been great all year, but they definitely did not have a very good game. Scoob Williams, Shamar James, guys who have played really good football, the run fits weren't very good. They were not tackling in space the way they need to. And Kentucky's a team that is going to test your linebackers and safeties in their ability to tackle. And Florida just, quite frankly, was not up to the task there. Again, the defense, it's young. You got some true freshmen starting, Jordan Castillo. You have some second-year guys. You have a lot of guys who have not played a ton of football playing on this defense. Worst performance that we've seen. Tackling was the biggest issue. The next thing I want to go to is just the pass rush. And this has been a group that, I mean, Kentucky didn't really, going back to my biggest problem with Florida is getting into those third and longs. Kentucky did not really get into many of those third and longs. So you didn't really give a chance to Princely U and some of those other guys to pin their ears back and get after the quarterback. And so when you're losing on first and second down on defense, you're kind of neutralizing some of the best parts of Austin Armstrong's defense, which is dialing up blitzes, letting his pass rushers go and impact the game. When you lose in first and second down and you're consistently kind of in that 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, where Kentucky can just run the football again, you're kind of neutralizing your pass rushers. So, I mean, yes, it wasn't a great game from the pass rush standpoint, but they didn't have many opportunities to really pin the ears back because Kentucky was just able to run the football, stay on schedule consistently. I want to give kind of my overall opinions on this game and kind of where this Florida team is going. A really good chance to get back on track against Vanderbilt. at home. Billy Napier's been really good in the Swamp. It's a big one. I mean, Vanderbilt, obviously not a great team. Florida should win this game, but I just want to see them come out and kind of play that ball that we saw them play against Tennessee, where they're running the football. They're staying on schedule. They're kind of leaning on the opposing team. And then on the defensive side of the ball, you're winning on first and second down. Then you're getting after the pass rusher, creating some turnovers and kind of creating some havoc like that Austin Armstrong defense wants to do. I'm not out on Billy Napier. I think he's got to certainly fix some things like the sloppy penalties. When you have a chance to get the football in great field position and you have a special teams error like that, which is not the first time we've seen this year, that's the type of stuff where Billy Napier, like, give up the offensive play calling, be a game manager, be the CEO of this program, and get this team playing like disciplined brand of football. That's why they brought you in there, not to call the plays. And so that's kind of my overall take. I still think this team is really talented. I went a little off script. I have my notes here. Went a little off script to you guys. I think overall, this Florida team is very talented, but it's young. And you're going to see these kind of growing pains. I get it. As a Michigan fan, I've been through some tough eras of Michigan football. Sometimes you just have to trust the process, get it back. Billy Napier's bringing in a lot of talent. If you make some changes, you bring in an offensive play call, kind of unlock this offense. Billy Napier fixes some of the inexcusable, sloppy penalties and undisciplined play. This team can be good in the next couple of years. It certainly can. They got to start cleaning that stuff up. That's what I'm looking for. Just play clean football. And if Florida does play clean football, they come out ready to play. Like, this team's hard to beat. You saw them beat Tennessee handily, and that's a very good Tennessee team. Yes, disappointing game against Florida. We kind of knew there'd be some games like this when you're so inexperienced on both sides of the football. Appreciate the Florida Gator fans checking it out. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. But again, more importantly, would love to hear from you guys in the comment section. Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.